This is Ernest Gilbert reporting for the Virgin Islands Consortium. We're here with gubernatorial candidate Mona Barnes, along with a running mate who we will be interviewing in a little bit for an exclusive interview. We're at the Lagoon in Christiansted. As you know, we're trying to highlight, different parts of the island. And so it's very nice, wouldn't you say?
I would say it's a beautiful place.
It is.
Even before we started, I said,
Yeah.
"Can you see God?
Yeah.
He's here."
So
I
really
praise
nice.
God. Praise
So
God
how
for
are you
being here this
feeling?
morning. I am feeling great. I
Okay.
came out of the forum last night at UVI. Feeling very good.
Yeah.
Got some good rest, and so I'm here with you this morning.
Early, it must have been an experience. I mean, or even now, just the campaign experience. How has that been?
Well, the experience, I would tell you, is one that I know I could never experience again.
Yeah.
Being part of the political process, it just shows me some good and some bad of our system and some things that needs to be corrected. But for the most part, Dr. Corm and we're having fun.
Yeah.
I tell people, I am not one that's going to lose a whole lot of sleep on things that I cannot change.
Right.
We pride ourselves in speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Our platform is based on honesty, integrity, and transparency, and that's what we continue to do. But actually, going on the trail, I must say, Ernest, one of the biggest things that we realize is people are truly suffering in these Virgin Islands, and you have no clue of how some people that actually work for government, that work for private sector, are actually living in the Virgin Islands. It was sad to see. We went in one area, and it wasn't a housing community, where there's still no running water. Children are in the house, so they live still outside toilet in 2014. So that was one of the events that truly broke my heart. But as the Barnes Quorum team says, now is the time for a transformation. We cannot continue to do the same things over and over and expect a different result. We've got to transform the way we're thinking. We got to transform the minds of the people to understand that we can improve the quality of life, but we have to change the way that we're doing business. We can't just expect, for a few to get rich on the backs of the poor. And one of the biggest issues is the energy crisis. And I continue to say there is a fix for the energy crisis. And I always go back to the evaluation report from that from 2009 that was sent to the governor, and it speaks clearly of the issues at the Water and Power Authority. It speaks of the recommendations, and had the recommendations been taken, we would have been seeing some saving of $65 million that should have gone back to the customer. So though I agree with the Water and Power Authority as far as changing and diversifying, going to propane and solar paneling, the issue that still plagues the Barnes Quorum team is, where is the savings? Why is it not coming to the people of the Virgin Islands? So we continue to ask the questions and wait for the answers. But in the interim, we are just going forward. Again, I thank you so much for this interview. It's a great day in the Virgin Islands, and I want the people not to vote this time around on popularity and familiarity. We've done probably 6 or 7 forums now, and I ask people to listen to what the candidates are saying. Truly, I believe that everyone brings something to the table, as they would not be running for the position. But we got to truly listen to what they're saying, and even some things that they're saying, does it really make sense? And so it's an experience.
Yeah.
I am truly loving it. I will tell the people of the Virgin Islands, we are here because we care. And the bottom line for the Barnes Quorum team is we want to improve the quality of life. And we recognize that it's going to take more than Dr. Quorum and myself to make that difference. It's going to depend on the commissioners in which we hire, and the directors, and everyone that are in senior positions in government, ensuring that they motivate their employees to render service to the people of the Virgin Islands. So it's not just a Dr. Quorum and I, because it's going to take more than that. It's going to take the private sector as well, collaborating with the public, and we just coming together and recognizing the issues in our community, prioritizing and taking care of the issues, because we can have a better Virgin Islands. I truly believe that.
So, of course, we're going to talk about the economy in a little bit, but
Yes.
you spoke of your administration, the people you hire,
Yes.
they also making the difference.
Yes.
Obviously, it starts with you.
Yes.
And I suppose the way you lead, then your team will follow. What type of leader do you believe you will be if elected the next governor?
Well, the type of leader I'm going to be is the one that recognizes that I don't know everything. And I think I've said it to you before, but the little that I know well. And I have a gift. One, I have vision. And we come with a mission. And I have a way of getting people to work for the betterment of others. I gift myself with that. Been in the military some 27 years. I'm a disciplined person. People say no nonsense, but I just believe if we work hard, then we can play hard. I think what's happening presently, we playing hard and we ain't working hard. You know. So
Yeah.
I would tell you that I am a disciplinarian, but I like product and I like production, not only from human resource but from any resource. So there's some things in government we need to change. Some things need to be automated. We just got to do an overall overhaul of the way we do government. But I realize that it's going to take more than Dr. Coram and myself to truly make a difference. And I believe the subject matter experts that we need, they're right here. But if they're not, then we have to be honest enough and then, you know, have people come from aboard, from away. So that's my type of leadership, understanding that everyone has something to give.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good listener, but at the end of the day, I'm going to make a decision.
So let's talk about the economy.
Yes.
Of course, we know the main factor right there is the WAPA.
Yes.
And so you've decided that, of course, you're going to deal with that. Any administration, I think, would.
Yes.
What else would you do to uplift the economy of the Virgin Islands? You know, unemployment is high. You just explained to me certain, you know, parts of our community and how people live.
Yes.
How do you intend, what are the strategies and the plan you have to uplift the economy of the Virgin Islands?
Well, the first part, when it comes to government, I speak of restructuring government. And every time I say restructuring, people think that I'm trying to get rid of people. No, I'm not. I continue to say that the government is top heavy. And so when we restructure government, what we're actually doing is taking off a lot of those high level positions that are not necessary. And if we're honest, we know that. And then push it down to the lower echelon. I said it last night in the forum. If you got more chiefs than Indians, then you have a problem.
Right.
So right there, you'll have more government employees who can then give in to the GRS. I think we have to look at how we're contracting employees in government, because then they don't give into the GRS system, and that's a system that's actually hemorrhaging. Now, when it comes to economic development, I believe in big business, but I think we need to focus even more on the small businesses of the Virgin Islands. And there are people that want to do business in the Virgin Islands. I sit with them, but we got to give them some breaks so that they can get started. When I drove by the industrial park and I see how many empty buildings they have and people that are desiring to do small business, light industry, we've got to give them an opportunity. I think we need to restructure the EDA where we are more friendly to local small businesses. I understand the intent of EDA, but we now have to recognize that it is small businesses that's driving our economy.
So are you saying that you would in terms of making it more friendly, that you would include incentives for local
Yes.
small, because I've heard it from a lot of local business owners.
Yes.
You know, we would like to be part of the EDA, but we can't. We would like to get certain benefits, but we can't. And you have all these companies who come from away and they're getting all these benefits. What would you do then?
We need to reconstruct the way that we're doing business in the EDA. And it could be for just a small period of time, but we do have to change it because it's not geared to the small businesses of the Virgin Islands. And then we have to sit with the banks. I know everything, Ernest, anything you do in life is a risk. Standing here with you right now is a risk. You never know what's going to happen. But we've got to take risks, and we've got to help the small businesses because they're the one that's driving our economy. A lot of the large businesses, they don't have bank accounts in the Virgin Islands.
Right.
They meet the mayor standard, and then what? The money's not circulating in the Virgin Islands. So we've got to get businesses where the money's circulating in the Virgin Islands with small businesses. I prefer to have 50 small businesses that hire 20 people than one business that have 100. Because look at what happened with Hovensa. When Hovensa closed, it was a devastating blow to St. Croix proper. And because I don't think that we diversified the St. Croix economy. And we've learned from our mistake, and we just have to ensure that we don't do it again.
Right. Let's talk about healthcare. It's a big problem in the Virgin Islands.
Yes.
We are not under Obamacare, so to speak, the Affordable Healthcare Act, and that's left a lot of people in the territory without affordable health care. We've gotten a lot of reports on VI Consortium about people, concerned citizens. How do we get health care? Let's talk about it more. What would be your plan as it relates to health care for people in the Virgin Islands?
I'm going to tell you this. On the Barnes Coram team, Dr. Coram is my subject matter expert when it comes to health care.
So I guess I'll ask her about that.
You can ask her. And that's what I want to understand. I want people to understand the blend that we have on this team. Even though she's the lieutenant governor, everybody say banking and insurance. We got to speak to the strength of your, the
Yeah.
person that is running with you. And Dr. Coram, being a naturopathic physician, she has actually had to deal with, people uninsured and getting people insured in her private practice. So she will be more the one that you will ask the question. But the one thing I know that we do need to do, we're going to have to revisit the issue. And it's going to be with the delegate because, of course, it has to do with issues in Congress. So we have to relook it. But the one thing, the Barnes Coram team, we truly believe, in universal health care. At some point, I want to see where every Virgin Islander have access to health care.
All right, so let's speak about GERS. Let's talk about that.
Yes.
It'll be insolvent in a few years. I'm just going to ask it plain. What are your plans to rectify that problem? It's a big problem.
It's a huge problem. You say big, I say huge. By the time the election day comes, it's probably going to be 2.0 billion dollars.
Yeah.
So the first thing is we gotta get an infusion of monies into that system.
Where do you reckon we get that from?
Well, part of it, I talked before, and people look at me like, oh, but there are monies that from the gasoline tax that goes right now to WAPA. I think WAPA is to the point where they are getting ready to do some great things, and we're going to see a decrease in the salary. So that's probably one of the options that we can use. Some of that money that's being diverted to WAPA can now be diverted to the GRS. That's one. Two, we've got to change the policies within GERS. It's lucrative. I had a company out of Houston to actually do an analysis for me. I sent them all the information from the 2011 report on GERS. It's the most lucrative retirement system in the world. Well, I won't say the world, but I know for sure in the U.S.
Wow.
So we have to change the way we're doing business. I said it before, and I will continue to say it. The people that have already retired, they have worked for this government. They have earned their finances, and we got to take care of them until they pass on. But the one thing, we got to change the policies, because what you have people in that system that gets to retirement and are still working for the government.
Yeah.
We got to think about that. You have people that are on the system that they've retired and went back into place into the same position, no longer giving into the system.
Right.
When you continue to take out more than you give in, then it's a problem. And it was political policies that actually happened back in the 80s.
Right.
But now it's catching up with us. And I hear people talking about 2023 or 2020.
Yeah.
If we don't do something drastically, immediately, we're probably looking at way sooner than that, probably 5 or 6 years.
Would you make that one of the key things you attack when you become, if you become the next governor?
Oh, it must. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
They have to be addressing that issue even now as we speak. But yeah, that would be one of the priorities for the Barnes Coram team, because we cannot afford to have GRS going solvent.
Recently, one of your opponents, the MAP team, MAP said that if elected, he'd hire 1,000 people. Do you think that's possible?
Well, I listened to Lieutenant Governor Mapp, and I hear it in theory, but I will tell you, I sat down and talk about it, and it's probably possible. My only thought to what he said is having it done by 2015.
Yeah.
And I use this example. A couple of months ago, there was a police academy class. There were 55 people that entered the class, but only 35 graduated. We do not have the human workforce to hire 250 people in the law enforcement in 12 months. We have to think. The classes last somewhere between 6 to 8 months, if I'm correct. Because I call her my niece-in-law. She just graduated from the class. And you don't have the human workforce.
Right.
So we now have to build a workforce. Now, Lieutenant Governor Mapp, I don't know his strategy, but just looking at it from the outside and thinking about 250, where do we get that human workforce from? And even if we put 250 people in, they're all not going to graduate.
Right.
So are you going to put 300-400 with the hopes that we get 250? That's one. And then two, when I think about the process, because I agree with what he's saying, there's a lot of overtime, but you have to remember, a lot of the people in law enforcement are working overtime. That's how they make their ends meet, because of their low salary. So we're going to have to ensure, as we hire more people, we're going to have to raise the salaries as well, because $32,000 with a family of 3 or 4 in the Vernons right now, It's hard to sustain with the economic, I mean, with the energy crisis.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be hard. But I am sure Lieutenant Governor Mapp has a plan. I haven't sat down and spoke to him with it, but just looking at it, just the law enforcement section, I think by 2015, I think it would be hard. Is it something that can be done over a longer period? Probably.
Right. So you have another one of your opponents, Soraya Diaz-Scofield, came out strongly against corruption, spoke of the Alvin Williams case, and she's using that as one of the platforms to move forward, which has garnered a little bit of given a little surge. What is your take on corruption within the government of the Virgin Islands?
Well, I will tell you first, I know that there is corruption. I have a lot of respect for Judge Diaz-Scofield as well, and she plays to her strong point. I mean, it's obvious. She's a judge, she's an attorney, and so that is her strong point. However, corruption is already going on, and there are already measures to correct it. Now, I am a firm believer as well that corruption will not be a part of the Barnes Quorum team. You can't eradicate it because human beings will find a way. But the key, as I said, and the leadership and the Barnes Quorum team is we will make examples of those that are not doing the right thing. I think what happens a lot of time is when people don't do the right thing, they're not addressed immediately, or they get a slap on the wrist. I don't believe in slap on the wrist, and especially if you sit in the position of leadership, then you must be the example, and you must set the example. So if you are doing something that's not right, or corruption, then the Barnes Quarantine, we truly believe in dealing with you.
Deal with it.
Oh, we will deal with it. And the key to it is swiftly. And it's not, first you got to ensure that, one, it is happening, and you have to address the person and let the person know what's going on. I think we're in a system, and like I told you, Ernest, as we were talking earlier, it's a system that has been able to operate for so long that some things they think is right, but it's not. Even in this electoral cycle, the mere fact that we have so many lawsuits and so many cases coming up less than 30 days to the very election speaks to what is happening in our community. And until we eradicate or we address corruption for truly what it is, we're going to continue in the same cycle because the same system wants to keep turning, and it has to change because it doesn't benefit the masses. It only benefits a few.
Okay, so let's go back to the economy. What do you think is the main product of St. Croix? I would call it the export, what we sell to other people, what they come here for. St. Thomas, you would say it's tourism, right? The tourism is their product. Do you think St. Croix has a product that we could coalesce around and say, this is what we're selling, this is what we're offering, come for it?
No, we don't. And Dr. Corman and I have sat down and we have pondered and we have said, what is the it? What is it that the St. Croix proper can develop that people say, I am coming to St. Croix because? Well, like you said, tourism for St. Thomas, St. John, they say the beaches and the national park. We have not yet identified the it. What is it that we're branding for St. Croix? It can't be Crucian rum. It's not Crucian rum. Right. But we have to find that it. And that right now, Ernest, I will be honest with you and tell you, I don't know what it is. Is it something cultural? I don't know. But I know once we find that it, the Virgin Islands is going to be so much better.
What do you think it could be, though? I mean, there must be something. Is it cultural? Is it something we haven't found? Is it farming? Is it
well, I know one thing that the Barnes Quorum team, we are very heavy and we're going to pursue is an agricultural authority. And we've sat down and talked with persons within the Virgin Islands. And it could be that. It could be the shrimp farming or conch farming or tilapia. We did the research concerning tilapia. And now other countries are selling tilapia and making millions of dollars. And what is happening to the Virgin Islands? So to answer your question, we don't know what that it is yet. But when it happens, we're going to know because it's going to transcend the Virgin Islands to another level that we haven't seen. I have hope that the Virgin Islands is going to be a better place because we don't have a choice.
Right.
But the key is, and I want to go back to this, Ernest, please, we have to continue to diversify. We have to diversify the economy of St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. And even though we're all unique, we still have to diversify, because God forbid if something happened to our tourism product in St. Thomas at this time, the Virgin Islands is in a whole lot of trouble. And I truly believe that St. Croix has always been the place of industry. I just prefer light industry right now. Having an environmental company, and speaking of Hovensa coming back, I mean, everything is a risk, and you have to sit down and make an assessment. But I think light industry, a very rigorous agricultural authority, where we are actually planting and food for ourselves to be able to feed ourselves, and then go drastically into steps of exporting. Nothing happens overnight, but you got to start making that step.
How do you feel about Hovensa coming back?
My feeling concerning Hovensa, if it does come back, we've got to make sure that we sit with the EPA, and we meet the whoever comes in, they meet the standard as far as pollution, because we know. Nobody can prove it because there's not a registry that was done. But anybody that has lived in this Virgin Islands knows that there are effects to any time you have a plant in anywhere. It's not just St. Croix alone. So if we do that, the key is going to ensure that we pay close attention first to the most important resource, which is our human resource, and not the dollar. So that, I think we've had that mixed up for a while as well.
Let's speak about contingencies. You know, a lot of people think that when a company like Hovensa or whoever's going to purchase Hovensa comes in, then you know there must be add-ons to it. Meaning you have to build our roads, or you got to make sure you pay for a hospital bill. I'm just using some examples. Do you believe in that? Do you believe that the next company that comes that purchases the refinery got to be the purchase got to be tied to some contingency?
Well, it could be tied to some contingencies. I think the key is we got to sit down with all the stakeholders, and understanding that business is here to make money. We got to recognize that any company that comes into the Virgin Islands, they're coming to make money. However, in your negotiation, you've got to negotiate what is best for your people that's on that island as well. And I think in the past, there's been some negotiation that probably could have been done a little differently. So if a company is coming in, one, I would want to sit with them, and not just myself as the governor, but stakeholders in the Virgin Islands, to sit at the table and say, what is it that you're bringing? This is what we need. How can we come together to make it best for the masses? And that would be my approach. And I tell you, Ernest, the one thing I'm good at, I can negotiate. I can negotiate a whole lot better for others than for myself. Yes.
People have said you're blunt, you're straight up, you say what you have to say, honesty. Why have you chosen to make that a character of yours?
Because that's the way I think people should live. I am who I am. And so when you speak to me, you will see who I am. I know there's some things I've said on the campaign trail, and some people have come to me and say, you know, you shouldn't have said that because it's not going to help your political chances. But I believe in being honest and transparent with the people. And I think that is one of the things that has been lacking for so many years. So when truth comes to you now, it's hard for you to receive it because you've been hearing so many lies in the past. You know, as a woman of God, I that's just the way I live. I want people to know my stand on any issue and have them to understand that I will make a statement. I'm not a perfect person. There are things in my life that I'm not proud of, but they've made me a stronger and better person. And I find when people recognize and realize that you're not perfect, they can now begin to appreciate themselves. So yeah, there's some things in my past that I'm not happy about. But everything happened in my life for purpose, and I think everything that happened drew me to the point where I'm now running for governor.
I think it's historical that two female candidates are running as for governor and lieutenant governor. Why did you choose your amazing running mate, Miss Coram?
I chose Dr. Coram for two main reasons. One, Dr. Coram and I have been friends for the past 15 years. And so when we go into government house, we're not going to have this issue of governor and then, you know, like they said, then lieutenant governor, and you go to ribbon cuttings and all of that. Dr. Coram brings, she's an intelligent woman, and she brings a lot to the table. When I decided to run, it was Dr. Coram that I went to, and I said to her, you need to find me a running mate. And then she reminded me that 2 years ago, I had asked her to run with me, and I told her I can't remember. And she said, oh, yes, you did. There were two other male that I was considering, but I had to ask myself, am I going to get a running mate because I think the person is popular and they can get us vote, or do I choose someone that I truly believe can do the job of a lieutenant governor? And that is the reason why I chose Dr. Coram. Uh, we have a friendship that is based on truth. Um, Her mom and my mom grew up together
Right, right,
in
right.
the in the next yard across from each other. So there's history with Dr. Coram and I appreciate her as a woman of character and integrity. Loves God the way I do, and so those are the qualities that I'm looking for. Someone that's going to be honest and transparent and have the heart of the people. She's a physician, for God's sake. She's a midwife, so she's going to have the heart for the people.
That's good. So before we, I'm gonna give you a chance, of course, to make your case to the people.
Okay.
You make no ends or buts about it. You're a believer. You're also a pastor.
Yes.
So your stance on the same-sex issue. What's that?
Well, I've been saying it from the beginning. I'll continue to say that I truly believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. I hear people, everybody have rights. Yeah, you have rights, but you ask me, Mona Barnes, Pastor Barnes, gubernatorial candidate Barnes. I truly believe that marriage is between one man and one woman. And that's the stand that the Barnes Coram team is going to take. We're not swaying on the issue. We're not making any political conversations about it. We're not trying to water it down. We believe that marriage is between one man and one woman.
On the marijuana issue, you have the decriminalization of it that failed recently. The bill was a bit confusing, some would say, and then you have the medicinal use, and of course the full recreational use of it. What are your stances on the three?
On the three, the Barnes Coram team, we truly believe in the decriminalization.
That bill, would you have signed that bill into law as it was?
Well, I wouldn't say as it was, because there's some things I think needed to tweak in the bill. But if you ask me concerning the Barnes Coram team, we do believe in decriminalization of marijuana. And sitting with Dr. Coram and actually having her to educate me, we truly believe that it can be used for medicinal purposes. The legalization for recreational use, I do not agree with that. And I say why, because in sitting and talking with Dr. Coram, she explained to me, as a naturopathic physician, she's had to detox persons from having too much marijuana in their system. So it speaks back to the word of God, Ernest, when it says, too much anything ain't good for you. Everything has to be in moderation. But that's our stance on that issue.
You have three other candidates running. You have Soraya, Diaz-Kofelt.
We got four.
Three others. Oh, well, four others.
Four others. Yes.
I'm sorry.
We have four others.
Right?
Yes, yes.
And then you have Matt Porter Scully, and then you have Soraya Diaz-Kofelt, Donna Christensen,
Yes.
and yourself. Why should the people of the Virgin Islands choose you as their next governor and not the other candidates?
I think they should choose the Barnes Coram team again because we're leaders, and I know they speak of experience, and experience matters, but I say it only matters when you see results. And if we speak of the other candidates that say they have experience, what has the experience brought us? I know they speak of monies here and there, but what have they done concerning the quality of life for the people? I think the Barnes Coram team, again, we bring leadership, we bring honesty, we bring integrity. Even in our very campaign, there's some people that we refuse to take money from. Because when one come to you and their basis is, I will give you this, and when you get in, you have to give me that. Whether we want to agree with it or not, it's happening. And those things you have to stomp out before. I tell people a lot of times, corruption begins during the election process, not after someone is elected. And so I want the people to know that the Barnes Coram team, we are leaders. We're going to be honest with your money. We're going to have integrity, and we're going to have transparency in government. And those are the things that people truly want to see. The people that we elect, we're going to elect them because of a skill, not because they worked on our campaign. And I will tell you, Ernest, we've sat down, and I'm very honest when I say this. After November the 4th, we've got to move forward. And in picking our cabinet, it's not going to be who worked with us, or it's not going to be that. And I told them, when we go to that transition phase, when applications begin to come in, I don't want to see names. I just want to see experience. I want to see what is on that resume. And then we choose probably three, and then we'll do a sit down with them. And that's the only way that you're going to get the best person in. And that's why I continue to say, with a Barnes Coram team, you're going to get a mix, and you're going to get a blend of all people's. Yeah, like I said before, after November 4th, it's time to concentrate on what's best for the people of the Virgin Islands. And so I am hoping that whoever becomes the victors, that they will seek the other persons that ran and ask for their ideas, their recommendations, because all of us are thinking the same thing. We are thinking about a transition team. We are thinking about the different issues, and I put it out there to all the candidates last night. What is going to be critical in this election is after November 4th. What are you going to do? Are you going to just run away and hide? Or is it going to be, well, I didn't get elected, so whatever? The Barnes Quorum team, we believe that we'll be elected, but if not, everything that we have set out to do, if whoever, we are still here, we're still going to be servants because our heart is for the people of the Virgin Islands.
It's very good.
And that's from the heart. That's just not conversation.
I know. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a lovely day.
It is.
We'll be speaking to your running mate in a little bit, but I'm going to give you a chance to make your case directly to the people of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you so much. People of the Virgin Islands, this is gubernatorial candidate Mona Barnes. And I want to plead to you and say this election cycle has to be different. Now is the time for a transformation. Now is the time to elect leaders that their hearts, their minds are tuned in with the people, and the desire is to improve the quality of life. The Barnes Quorum team, we bring a level of leadership, honesty, integrity, and transparency. We can no longer vote on popularity or familiarity. And yes, experience does count, but it only counts when it's producing results. And so I ask you to give the Barnes Quorum team an opportunity to serve you as your next governor and lieutenant governor. We're number 4 on the ballot, and we're going to ask you on November 4th, vote number 4 in 2014. Because if you want to be sure, then it has to be number 4. God bless you and thank you.